In the center of the galaxy, the virulent conclave ruled with cold order and logic. Dozens of alien races gathered under this council. They believed in rules, tradition, and strength. Among them, humans were new, small, unimportant, many thought. They were weak, emotional creatures, not fit for true leadership. Every 5 years, the conclave held a sacred test, the rite of selection. From every race, one warrior could enter. The winner would serve as a battle advisor, leading troops in coming wars. It was a position of great honor. This year, Earth was allowed to send one fighter. They chose Tyre Quinn. Tyre was only 19. He grew up on the dusty mining stations of Mars. His father was a broken man. His mother died when he was young. He learned to fight not in a school, but in back alleys and cargo ships. He had no special armor, no great weapon. It's a short blade, his fists, and a mind that refused to give up. When Tyre entered the massive arena of Virulent Prime, laughter filled the air. He is the human, Goran Beast Warrior barked. He's a child, hissed a tall, icy Virulent. He won't last 5 minutes, another alien muttered. Tyre heard them all, but he said nothing. He looked up at the endless rows of alien nobles, soldiers, and leaders watching from crystal balconies above. Then his eyes landed on Princess Sorella. She was from the Luxari, a race of tall, silver-skinned beings with strong mental powers. The Luxari never spoke without meaning, and they never made choices lightly. The High Arbiter, dressed in golden robes, stepped forward. His voice echoed through the arena before the trial begins. The conclave allows each noble house to choose a champion worthy of support. Who among you dares to make a selection? Silenced warriors stood proud, flexing claws, weapons glowing. Each expected to be chosen. Each waited. Then slowly Princess Sorella raised her hand. She pointed directly at Tyre and said, clear and bold for all to hear. That one is the spark, the fire. He is my champion. Rose from every corner. Of the arena, a human. Tyre looked up, shocked. For a second, he thought she was pointing at someone behind him. But no, it was him. Everyone stared, some in anger, others in disbelief. The Goran warrior laughed hard. The princess has lost her mind. But Sorella's face stayed calm. Her silver eyes locked on Tyre. He has no armor, someone shouted. He has no name among warriors, another said. The High Arbiter turned to her. Princess Sorella, your choice is unusual. Do you wish to explain? Sorella only replied, I do not choose with my eyes. I choose with truth. He is more than you see. The High Arbiter nodded once. Then let the trials begin. Tyre was led to a large chamber underground. He was given simple clothing, nothing special. Other warriors received plasma swords, robotic armor, or genetic boosters. Tyre had none of these, just his short blade and his courage. A voice came from the walls. Welcome to the arena of shattered steel. You must survive the gauntlet. Allies, no rest. Pass, and you remain. Fail, and you are forgotten. The gate opened. Tyre stepped inside. The arena was massive, a broken maze of metal, spikes, and glowing traps. From the shadows, biomechanical beasts crawled out, creatures of steel and muscle, made to test even the strongest. Tyre didn't wait. He moved fast, dodging the first beast's claw. He rolled, stabbed its leg joint, and kept running. He wasn't stronger than the beasts, but he was faster, smarter. He didn't fight every monster. He used his mind. At one point, he climbed a tall beam and jumped across a broken bridge. A giant reptilian warrior tried to follow, but crashed down and was disqualified. Another alien was cornered by 2 mechanical wolves. Tyre could have kept running, but he didn't. He doubled back, threw rocks to distract the wolves, and pulled the alien to safety. The alien stared at him in shock. You saved me. Why? Tyre just said, no one deserves to die in a test. They both ran in different directions. Tyre reached the end first. When the gate opened, he fell to his knees, bleeding and tired but alive, back in the viewing chamber. Silence hung heavy. Princess Sorella stood again. "You all saw it," she said. "He did not win with power. He won with heart." Some still laughed, some still doubted, but others began to whisper, perhaps. Perhaps humans had more to offer than they thought. Tyre was taken to rest. As he lay on a healing bed, he thought of home, of Mars, and of his mother's words long ago. Be kind, be brave, and never bow to fear. I'd survived the first trial, but many more waited, and now the entire galaxy was watching him. Tyre Quinn sat alone on the edge of the healing bed. A soft blue light passed over his wounds. Alien medicine was fast. His cuts closed, his bruises faded. But the tiredness in his body stayed. He had survived the first trial. Somehow, he remembered. The monsters, the pain, the way he had helped another fighter even though it might have killed him. Most of all, he remembered Princess Sorella's voice. He is the spark. Why had she chosen him? Why a human, the youngest and weakest among all champions? He had no answers. The door slid open. A short, round robot entered the room, its voice cheerful. "Tyre Quinn, you have 10 minutes to prepare. You are summoned to the second proving." Tyre blinked. "Already? No rest for champions?" The robot beeped. "Good luck, human." Rolled away, leaving Tyre to dress. His gear was still simple, a tight suit, basic boots, and his short blade. Other champions had plasma weapons and armor that glowed with alien tech. He had none of that, but he had survived once. He would try again. The second proving was held in the Dome of Mines, a place far different from the first arena. There were no monsters, no traps, just silence. The room was round, silver walls shining. 12 seats were placed in a wide circle. Tyre entered and saw 11 other champions sitting already, one from each powerful race in the conclave. All older, bigger, stronger. A voice filled the air. Calm, ancient. This is not a test of strength. This is a test of mind, logic, decisions, survival. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a large spaceship floating in space. Fire burst from one side. People ran in panic. Scenario: your ship is damaged. You have 20 minutes to save your crew. You can only choose one option. Each choice means some will live and some will die. Choose carefully. Explain your logic. Tyre felt nervous. He wasn't a leader. He wasn't a captain. He'd only ever saved himself. One by one, the champions gave their answers. A warrior from the Goran said, "I would save the strongest soldiers. We need them to fight later." A cold alien from the Virulon said, "I would save the ship's data. Information is more important than people." Luxari Noble said, "I would save the most intelligent minds to rebuild after the crash." When it was Tyre's turn, all eyes turned to him. He stood slowly, voice steady. "I would save the kids." Silence. The Goran laughed. "Kids? What use are they in war?" Tyre didn't smile. "They're not useful now, but they'll live. To grow up. To learn. To do better than we did. If I only think about today, then there's no future." The Virulon narrowed his eyes. "That is not logical." "Maybe not," Tyre said. "But it's human." Decision accepted. Marked. After the test, Tyre was led to a private lounge. There, waiting for him, was Princess Sorella. She stood tall, her silver hair glowing faintly under the soft lights. "You surprised them again?" she said. Tyre shrugged. "I just told the truth." Sorella smiled. "That is why I chose you." Tyre looked at her carefully. "Why me? Why not someone stronger, someone trained?" She walked closer. "Because you do not think like them. You act with heart, not just mind. Save those no one else sees. You care for those others leave behind." He frowned. "Isn't that weakness?" She shook her head. "No, that is humanity. And it is rare in this galaxy." For a moment, Tyre said nothing. Then he asked, "Do you really think I can win?" Sorella looked into his eyes. "I don't need you to win. I need you to inspire." The next morning, the scoreboard was shown across the entire conclave to everyone's shock. Tyre was now ranked in the top 5. His actions, saving another fighter in the first trial, choosing children in the second, had earned him respect. Not from all, but from many. Some alien citizens began to speak about the human. The boy who fights with kindness. The blade from Mars. The fire that doesn't burn, but warms. Of course, others were angry, especially Commander Doric. Leader of the Valkyrie, a strong reptilian race, his champion had placed 6th. "That human boy is dangerous," Doric said to his spies. "Too many eyes are watching him. You must remind the galaxy who truly leads." Plans began in the shadows. Back in the training zone, Tyre practiced alone. He swung his blade, fast and sharp, remembering every lesson from his past. On Mars he had fought bullies, thieves, even pirates. But nothing prepared him for this strange world. Suddenly, the door opened. It was Gorok, the warrior he had saved in the first trial, the one with 4 arms and blue skin. Gorok stepped forward, silent. "I did not thank you before," he said. Finally, Tyre smiled. "You're welcome. I've never seen anyone risk themselves for another in the trials," Gorok said. "Your kind is strange, but strong." He held out a small metal badge. "Take this, my clan symbol," he earned. "My respect." Tyre took it surprised. For the first time, it wasn't just the human outsider. He was becoming something more, far above, in the council chamber. Princess Sorella stood alone, looking down at the world below. One of her guards asked, "Do you truly believe he can change anything?" She didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, "He already has." The stars outside the ship Orlith moved like slow dancers, floating in silence. This was no warship, no fighter carrier. The Orlith was a diplomatic vessel, built for comfort, built for peace. It carried the remaining champions of the trials, now headed toward the next test location on the far moon of Halrix. Tyre Quinn stood by the window in his cabin, watching the stars. He had passed 2 trials. He was now known across many parts of the galaxy. Some praised him, some hated him. But no one could ignore him anymore. Still, he felt alone. He missed the dry winds of Mars, the hum of mining drills, even the smell of engine oil in the ship docks. This galaxy, with its floating cities, mind readers, and alien warriors, still didn't feel like home. A soft knock came at his door. It slid open before he could speak. Princess Sorella entered, dressed in a flowing silver robe. "You haven't slept," she said. Tyre smiled weakly. "Do humans ever sleep well in space?" Sorella sat across from him, folding her hands. "You carry doubt. I don't belong." "Here," Tyre said quietly. "I'm not a chosen warrior. I'm not a genius. I'm just ... surviving." "You're wrong," she replied. "You belong because you don't act like the rest." Tyre looked at her. "Why did you really choose me, Sorella?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stood, walked to the window, and looked out into the darkness. "Do you know about the Nyx swarm?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "Some kind of ancient enemy. The Conclave talks about it like a legend." Sorella's voice dropped. "It wasn't a legend. They were real. It came from the void beyond stars, metal hive-minded, without mercy. They burned entire planets, killed billions. No army could stop them." Tyre swallowed. "How did the galaxy survive?" Sorella turned to face him. "Because of humans. Your ancestors weren't part of the Conclave then. But they fought with everything they had, not by following rules, but by breaking them. Using surprise, emotion, rage, mercy, chaos." She stepped closer. "They defeated the Nyx X, not with numbers, but with something no other race had. Unpredictable will. That's why I chose you." Before Tyre could respond, the ship suddenly shook, a siren blared. Red lights flashed. Warning, unidentified ships approaching. Tyre and Sorella looked at each other. No words needed. They ran in the main command hall. Chaos had broken out. Officers shouted across controls. Screens flickered. Outside, black insect-shaped ships surrounded the Orolith. A voice echoed through the ship's speakers. "We are the Nyx. You forgot us. We return." One of the alien champions cursed. They were wiped out. Another yelled, "We must jump." Now, the engines were dead. The Nyx had already begun hacking into the ship's core systems. Panic rose. Then, Tyre shouted, "Seal the main deck! Don't wait. Block the lower chambers before they cut power to life support." The officers hesitated, then obeyed. He pointed to the backup energy line. "That system? It's separate. Reroute main thrusters through it. They won't expect that." The captain turned. "You're not in command, and die while arguing." Tyre snapped. A pause. Then the captain gave the order. "Do what he says." Tyre moved through the ship fast. He passed broken walls. Sparks flying. Crew members running. He remembered old cargo ships on Mars. Engines breaking mid-flight. How he used junk parts to stay alive. In the engine room, the power line had been fried. No time for tools. He grabbed 2 wires, sparks biting into his skin, and forced them together. The emergency engines hummed to life. Gravity flickered, then steadied. The ship began to move. But the Nyx weren't. Done 2 of their insect ships latched onto the Orolith. Boarding claws pierced the hull. Soldiers rushed to the entry bay. They had armor, guns, shields. Tyre grabbed only a blade. Princess Sorella met him in the hall. "You'll be killed." "Maybe," he said, "but not without trying." His forehead gently. "Then I'll go with you." The boarding bay was chaos. The Nyx were tall, black creatures with shining eyes and blades for arms. No emotion, no words. Tyre leaped forward, slashing fast. He was smaller, but faster. He rolled under one, stabbed behind the knee joint, dodged another's claw, and kicked it backward. Sorella moved with him. Her eyes glowed silver. She used her mental power to slow the enemies, creating moments of confusion, enough for Tyre. And the soldiers to strike. Gorak, the blue-skinned warrior Tyre had once saved, joined the battle. "Stand behind the human," he roared. "Fight like him." The tide turned. After long minutes, the last Nyx creature fell, hissing, as its body turned to ash. The ship limped away from the attack zone, damaged but alive. In the aftermath, alien. Leaders gathered in the central chamber. The High Arbiter looked around. "We were attacked, not by pirates, not rebels. But the Nyx swarm returned from death." Silence. Then one council member said, "We need new leadership. One that thinks differently," another added. "The humans saved the ship." He acted while others froze. The Arbiter nodded slowly. "We will consider new roles and new voices." Tyre stood to the side, unsure of what to say. Sorella walked up to him. Voice soft. "You fought like those before you. Wild, brave, human." He looked at her, tired but proud. "I didn't win. I just didn't run." She smiled. "That's why they'll follow you." The ship Orolith had returned to Virulon Prime, damaged but safe. Repairs had begun, and the crew rested. But peace was only on the surface. Inside the great marble halls of the Conclave Tower, things were not calm. Alien leaders whispered in corners. Some praised Tyre. Others called him a problem. Commander Doric of the Reliquary was one of them. His thick tail swayed with anger as he paced. "He's just a human boy," he growled. "And yet they speak of him like he's a hero. Like he's a leader." One of his aides bowed. "He saved the ship." Even the Luxari praised him. Doric slammed his clawed fist on the table. "That boy is winning hearts. If we don't stop him, he will change everything." Then he leaned forward, eyes sharp. "It's time to remind the galaxy that humans are not to be trusted." The next morning, Tyrequin walked into the council garden, a peaceful space filled with glowing trees and floating lights. He finally felt calm. For once, no one was testing him. No one was trying to kill him. He sat near a small pool, watching the light reflect on the water. Behind him, Gorak, his blue-skinned friend, approached. "You look like a thinker, Gorak," said. Tyre smiled, just enjoying silence. "Don't trust it too much," Gorak warned. "Silence before storm is still a storm." Before Tyre could reply, a loud chime rang out across the garden. A message played in the air. "Tyre Quinn, human champion, is hereby charged with sabotage and conspiracy against the Conclave." Tyre froze. The voice continued. "He is to be arrested and held until trial. Evidence has been presented." In minutes, armored guards surrounded him. Some looked unsure. Others looked proud. Tyre raised his hands. "I didn't do anything. You'll have your trial," one said. Gorak stepped forward. "He saved the ship. This is madness." But they pushed Gorak away. Tyre didn't resist. He didn't want to fight his own allies. He was taken to a tall, silent tower, the Hall of Justice. Inside, he sat in a cold room, alone. Wondering how this had happened, far above, Princess Sorella stormed into the High Council. "Who dares?" "Accuse him," she demanded. Commander Dorix stood calmly. "We found data logs from the ship. Sabotage was planned through human communication codes. He accessed control lines during the attack. Convenient, isn't it?" Sorella narrowed her eyes. "He acted to save the ship. You twist facts?" "We follow evidence," Dorix said, "not feelings." The High Arbiter spoke at last. "We will allow truth to decide. The trial will be public. All races will witness." Sorella said nothing more. But inside, she burned with anger.
"I knew it was a trap."
And she would prove it. Tyre sat in the center of the Conclave's main chamber, surrounded by leaders, warriors, and civilians. From across the galaxy, he looked small. Commander Dorix stepped forward first. "We present visual proof. This footage shows the human accessing our systems just before the Nyx attack." A video played. It showed Tyre in the engine room, crossing wires, the crowd murmured. Another screen showed strange signals marked as human code. "He led them here," Dorix said. "He endangered us all." Tyre stood. "I did fix the ship, not to help enemies, to keep us alive." "Do you deny sending this signal?" Dorix asked. Tyre stared at the strange code. "I never sent anything like that. I wouldn't even know how." Whispers grew louder, then Princess Sorella rose. "I request a Luxari mind weave." Gasps followed. It was rare, a powerful psychic skill used to see someone's true memories. "It could not be faked," agreed the High Arbiter said. Sorella stepped down toward Tyre. "Do I have your permission?" He nodded. "Yes, I have nothing to hide." Sorella closed her eyes. Her fingers touched Tyre's forehead. A soft silver glow surrounded them both. The chamber watched in silence as memories flickered in the air. Tyre's desperate actions during the Nyx attack, his fear, his quick thinking, the sparks burning his hands as he rerouted the power. Then, no signal, no betrayal, just survival. Sorella opened her eyes. His mind is clear. The signal was faked. Cheers erupted from part of the crowd. Others stayed quiet, unsure. The High Arbiter turned to Dorix. "How did you obtain the false data?" "What X?" Eyes narrowed. "This changes nothing." "Yes," the Arbiter replied. "It changes everything." Dorix turned and stormed out, his plan ruined. Tyre was free. Later that day, Tyre sat with Sorella on a quiet balcony. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "I did," she replied, "because the enemy is not always outside. Sometimes it hides within our own walls. Will they ever trust me again?" She looked at him. "You gained more trust today than ever before. You didn't run. You faced them with truth." Tyre looked out at the stars. "I'm tired of being tested." She smiled softly. "That means you're ready for what's next." That night, across the galaxy, screens and walls lit up with one message. Human champion, proven innocent. Conclave divided. Some see him as a threat. Others as hope. In dark rooms, some began to plan again. Not all enemies had been defeated, but in hearts across many worlds, the legend of Tyre Quinn grew stronger. He was not the biggest, not the strongest, but he stood, and he endured. The galaxy was on edge. The Nyx swarm had returned. And this time, they were no longer just a legend. They were a reality, and they were hungry. Tyre Quinn stood on the bridge of the Orlith, watching the stars move past the window. His thoughts were far from the beauty of the cosmos. The calm he had felt earlier seemed long gone. In front of him, the Nyx hive fleet loomed in the distance, an endless sea of dark ships that had once nearly destroyed the galaxy. Sorella walked up beside him, her silver hair glowing faintly. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice calm yet. Full of weight, Tyre didn't answer right away. He didn't feel ready, he didn't feel strong enough. But the truth was, there was no choice. The galaxy depended on them. And he was the one who had to fight. "I don't know," he said quietly, "but I'm not running." Sorella smiled faintly. "That's what makes you ready." The Orlith's engines hummed as it moved closer to the heart of the Nyx fleet. Tyre could feel the weight of the moment, not just for him, but for every life in the galaxy. He had earned his place among the champions. But now, he had to prove he could lead, had to face the enemy head-on. The High Arbiter's voice crackled through the ship's intercom. "This is it, warriors. The Nyx swarm is no longer a threat. From the shadows. They are here, ready to destroy everything we've built. All fleets will engage. The galaxy's future is at stake." A chill ran down Tyre's spine. The future felt like everything had already been decided. The Nyx were going to attack, and the Conclave's forces would meet them in battle. But Tyre wasn't just a soldier. He wasn't just one more warrior in a sea of stars. He was something new. He was a human, full of heart, chaos, and unpredictability. He wasn't like the others who fought only with strategy and cold logic. He fought with everything he had. Sorella stood beside him again. "Tyre, you know what you must do? Lead them." Tyre nodded slowly. He had no plan, no perfect strategy, but he had something the Nyx didn't understand. A willingness to do whatever it took. A willingness to fight dirty, to bend the rules. To win by doing the unexpected, the battle began. The Nyx ships swarmed the Orlith, and in seconds, 1,000. Laser beams flashed across the sky. The Orlith rocked under the first wave, and alarms began to blare throughout the ship. Tyre gripped the side of his chair, holding on as the ship shook. All fleets engage. The High Arbiter's voice commanded again. Tyre's mind raced. As he looked around the war room, Kalian warriors sat at their consoles, ready to follow orders. But the orders were too slow. The Nyx were fast, their ships moving like shadows, striking without warning. "We're going to lose if we keep playing by the rules." Tyre muttered under his breath. Sorella turned to him. "Then don't." Tyre stood, his mind made up. "Get me a fighter? I'm not staying here." Tyre rushed to the nearest hangar, where the sound of engines roaring filled the air. He jumped into a small, fast fighter, a ship built for speed and agility. As soon as the hatch closed, he began to accelerate, flying out of the Orlith and into the chaos of the battlefield. The Nyx ships were everywhere, a swarm of angry bees, firing at anything that moved, weaved in and out of their fire. Using the ship's small size to his advantage, he didn't care about strategy anymore. He didn't care about the proper tactics, just needed to survive, needed to find a way to break through their lines. Then, as if by instinct, Tyre saw. It in the middle of the Nyx fleet was the Nyx Queen, the heart of the swarm. It floated in the center, surrounded by a massive wall of ships. It was her mind that controlled the others, her presence that kept them all coordinated. Tyre knew what he had to do. "I'm going after the Queen." Tyre shouted over the comms. "Cover me." Sorella's voice crackled in his ear. "Tyre, this is madness. You can't just attack the Queen alone." But Tyre didn't listen. He pulled back on the throttle and dove straight into the heart of the Nyx swarm. The Nyx ships tried to surround him, but he was too quick. He rolled, spun, and fired, taking down enemy ships one by one as he shot past. His ship jolted his enemy. Fire hit, but he didn't stop. He was closer to the queen now, just a little farther. The battle raged around him, but all Tyre could see was the Nyx queen looming in front of him. He pulled his fighter into a sharp dive, using the chaos around him as cover. In one final push, he sent all his remaining firepower straight at the queen. The explosion that followed was massive. For a moment, everything was still, and then, as the smoke cleared, Tyre saw it. The Nyx queen was gone. Her ship was in pieces, scattered across the stars. A cheer erupted over the Cums. The Nyx fleet faltered. They had no leader. The swarm began to lose its coordination, its strength. Tyre's ship was badly damaged, smoke pouring from the engines. He pulled back, feeling the heat of the battle slowly fade away. His heart pounded in his chest, but there was no time to rest. Cirill's voice came through. Tyre, you did it. The Nyx are retreating, but Tyre wasn't listening. He was already turning his ship back toward the Orolith. The battle wasn't over yet. The swarm was scattering, but they weren't gone. They'd be back, stronger and more dangerous than ever. Later, Tyre stood in the command room of the Orolith, battered but alive. The fleet had won, but it was clear that this battle had only just begun. Cirilla walked up to him, her eyes filled with respect. You didn't just win today, Tyre, she said. You gave the galaxy a chance. You gave us all hope. Tyre nodded. Looking out at the stars, we're not done yet. But we've got a shot. And that, in the end, was enough. The stars outside the Orolith were calm now. The battle was over, but Tyre Quinn felt no peace. His eyes scanned the darkness of space, as if waiting for the next attack. The Nyx swarm had retreated, but they would return. It was only a matter of time. Tyre stood alone on the observation deck, his thoughts swirling like the stars outside. The victory felt empty. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. Princess Cirilla entered quietly, her silver robe trailing behind her. She looked at Tyre, noticing the weight on his shoulders. You're thinking about the future, she said softly. Tyre nodded. I can't stop. I keep wondering what's next. What happens when the Nyx come back? What happens if we lose? Cirilla moved to his side, standing beside him as they both stared out into the vast emptiness of space. The future is always uncertain, she said. But you've shown everyone, including yourself, that you are ready for whatever comes. Tyre's gaze shifted to her. I didn't ask for this. I didn't choose to be the one to lead. I'm just a guy from Mars. Cirilla smiled faintly. That's exactly why you're the right person. You don't lead out of power or pride. You lead because you care. You fight because you have no choice but to fight. Tyre turned back to the stars. I just want to make sure no one else has to go through this. I don't want to be the hero. Cirilla. I just want to protect those who can't protect themselves. Cirilla stood taller, her voice firm. That is why you are more than a warrior. You're a leader. Days passed as the Conclave prepared for the next phase of the war. Tyre's role was no longer questioned. He had earned the respect of the galaxy, but that respect was a double-edged sword. Every leader now looked to him for guidance, and every ally expected him to lead them to victory. Tyre had become something he never wanted to be, a symbol. He wasn't just the human warrior anymore. He was a leader, a hero, and the hope of the galaxy. But with that came the weight of expectations. One evening, the High Arbiter called for a meeting. The war was far from over. The Nyx were regrouping, and the Conclave was preparing for the final push. Tyre entered the war room, where leaders from every race sat at a large circular table. The High Arbiter stood and turned toward Tyre. It is time, he said. The final battle against the Nyx begins. You have earned our trust. You will lead the charge. Tyre took a deep breath. The weight of the room settled on his shoulders. But he didn't flinch. He was ready. In that moment, he knew he wasn't the boy from Mars anymore. He was something more. Cirilla stepped forward. Tyre Quinn, she said, her voice carrying. Through the room, you have proven yourself time and time again. You've shown that you are more than just a warrior. You are the flame that lights the way for us all. Tyre looked at her, surprised by her words. What are you saying? Cirilla's eyes shone brightly. I am naming you the first commander of the galactic forces." A murmur of surprise filled the room. The High Arbiter looked at Tyre, his face unreadable. "A bold choice, Princess." Sorella turned to the council. "Is the one who fought not just for victory, but for hope. He fought because he believed in the future of all our people, and that is the kind of leader we need." Tyre felt the room's weight shift. It was no longer just about him. It was about the galaxy, the future. The days that followed were a blur. Tyre worked with the Conclave's top strategists, leading them to prepare for the final assault. He made decisions, faced challenges, and led a team of warriors from every race, humans, Luxury, Valkyrie, and others, to prepare for the battle that would determine the fate of their worlds. But despite the pressure, Tyre found strength in the people around him. He was no longer alone. He had friends, allies, and a purpose. The final battle came faster than anyone expected. The Nyx fleet gathered in the depths of space, ready to launch a full-scale assault on the Conclave's capital. The galaxy's last line of defense was the Orolith and its fleet. Tyre stood on the bridge of the Orolith, watching as the Nyx ships appeared on the horizon. The time had come. He turned to Sorella, who stood at his side. "We've prepared. We fight now." Sorella nodded. "We fight together." The battle was brutal. The Nyx swarm came in waves, their ships like dark shadows moving across the stars. The Conclave's fleet fought with everything they had, but the Nyx were relentless. For every ship the Conclave destroyed, another Nyx ship took its place. Tyre's fighter darted through the chaos, evading enemy fire and leading a group of warriors on daring attacks. The Conclave's forces were outnumbered, but they had something. The Nyx didn't unity. Tyre fought harder than ever, rallying the troops, giving orders, and showing them the way. His mind was sharp, his heart determined. He had become the leader he never thought he could be. And then, in the heart of the battle, Tyre saw it, the Nyx Queen. She was the heart of the swarm, the one who controlled them all. And she was vulnerable. Tyre knew what he had to do. This would end the war. This would end the nightmare. With his fighter moving at full speed, Tyre dove straight for the Nyx Queen's ship. Enemy fire surrounded him, but he pushed forward, trusting his instincts, trusting his team. He hit the Queen's ship with everything he had. The explosion that followed was massive. The Nyx fleet scattered. The Queen was gone. The swarm lost its strength, its unity. The war was over. Hours later, in the quiet aftermath, Tyre stood on the observation deck again. Looking at the stars, Sorella joined him, her presence calming. "You did it," she said softly. Tyre turned to her, a tired smile on his face. "We did it," she nodded. "You are more than a warrior, Tyre. You're the future of the galaxy." He looked out at the stars. "No, we all are." First time, Tyre felt peace. The battle was won. The galaxy was safe. But the real victory, he knew, was in the people he had fought for, the people he had led. He was no longer just a young human warrior. He was the leader of a new era,